The glory days were about to return. Holly found it quite impossible to suppress his permanent smirk. It had taken almost 3 weeks for the Scutters to channel all the spare runtime from Holly's thousands upon thousands of terminal stacks into the small single central processing unit which controlled his highest levels of thought. But now they were ready.
"Right then,"
said the toaster.
"we're ready.
Holly nodded.
We just gotta take out the circuit breaker and pray we don't get an overload."
What happens if we do get an overload?
"You'll explode,"
said the toaster simply.
Fair enough,
said Holly. A Scutter moved across the drive room floor and its claw pulled out the inhibitory circuit board. All over the ship, the lights dimmed to emergency level. Cables dormant for centuries rumbled with power.
It's coming,
said Holly tonelessly.
I can hear it.
Millions of circuit boards sparked into life. From the outer reaches of the ship, the surging energy thundered towards the drive room and Holly's CPU.
Whatever happens,
he said to the toaster,
no regrets. It's got to be better than being stuck with you.
Then it happened. Holly's digital image expanded off the screen in a stunning explosion of colour. Huge blue bolts of static lightning ripped across the walls of the drive room. Terminals fizzed and jerked as the thousands of cables discharged their loads into his central processing unit. Holly felt the power enter him. He felt as if his whole being had been blown apart and scattered to the corners of the universe. And just as he thought it was abating, just as he thought the massiveness of what had happened to him had finished, the second wave burst into him, smashing him, fragmenting him again. And then there was silence. A choking cloud of rubber smoke hung low over the floor, and Holly's splintered image reformed itself on the screen in a scream of colours. He opened his eyes. His image was different, larger, more intense, with higher definition, but the greatest difference was in his eyes. His eyes had lost their darting anxiety. They were smiling, benign. Holly was at total peace with himself. He summoned the digital readout of his estimated IQ. There were 2 figures. The first was a 6. The second was an 8. 68. Still he kept smiling. There was a blip, and the 2 figures were joined by another. Now they read 368. There was a pause, and another blip. Now the IQ readout was 2,368. Holly's smile broadened. There was a final blip, and the figures were joined by a 1. Holly's new IQ was 12,368. He was more than twice as intelligent as he'd been at the height of his genius.
I know everything,
he said without a trace of conceit. He turned his huge, kindly eyes towards the toaster.
Ask me anything, absolutely anything at all.
"Anything?"
Metaphysics, philosophy, the purpose of being, anything.
"Truly anything, and you will answer."
I shall.
"Very well,"
said the toaster.
"Here is my question. Would you like some toast?"
No, thank you,
said Holly.
Now ask me another. The whole sphere of human knowledge is an open book to me. Ask me another question.
The toaster pondered. There were so many questions it wanted to pose. Finally, it selected the most important of them all and asked it.
"Would you like a crumpet?"
I'm a computer with an IQ of 12,368. You, of all the intelligences in the universe, a lowly plastic toaster with a retail value of $19.99 plus tax. You alone have the opportunity to have any question answered. You could, for instance, ask me the secret of time travel. You could ask me, is there a God, and what is his address? You don't seem to understand. I know everything, and I want to share it with you.
"That's not answering my question,"
said the toaster.
No, I would not like a crumpet. Ask me a sensible question, preferably one that isn't bread-related.
"There isn't anything I want to know that isn't bread-related,"
said the toaster.
Try and think of something,
Holly insisted. There was a long silence. The toaster fell into a deep study. Eventually, it stirred.
"What about a toasted currant bun?"
That's a bready question.
"It's not just bready,"
said the toaster indignantly.
It's quite currenty, too.
Ask me a question, said Holly, that is wholly unbready.
The toaster sighed and lapsed again into one of its silences. This wasn't easy. Not easy at all.
You want me to ask you one of the biggies, don't you?
Said the toaster.
If by the biggies you mean one of the great imponderables of metaphysics, yes, I do. If, on the other hand, by the biggies you mean would I like a large piece of granary bread or a thick slice from a huge farmhouse loaf, then no, I don't.
You are smart,
said the toaster.
I'm very impressed.
Then ask me a decent question, something that will stretch me.
Okay,
said the toaster.
who created the universe?
No,
said Holly.
a hard one.
That is a hard one.
No, it isn't.
Well, who did it then? Who created the universe?
Lister.
Said Holly.
Ask me another.
Hang on a minute. Dave Lister? The guy who bought me? That Lister? He's the creator of all things?
Yes.
Said Holly, giddy with impatience.
Now ask me a hard question.
But the toaster was still reeling from the news that the creator of all things was Lister, a man with a frighteningly small appetite for hot, buttered toast. It rocked the toaster to the very core of its being.
If the creator of the universe doesn't like toast, then what's it all about?
Ah,
Holly beamed.
you mean existence.
Yes,
Said the toaster.
why doesn't life make sense?
It does, said Holly. It makes perfect sense. It just seems nonsensical to us because we're travelling through it in the wrong direction. Come on, give me another. A real toughie. Stretch me. You name it, I can tell you. You want to know how to escape from a black hole?
Not particularly.
But Holly told the toaster anyway. He also propounded a grand unified theory of everything, explained what happened to the crew of the Marie Celeste, and outlined a revolutionary new monetary theory whereby everyone always had exactly the amount of money they desired. None of which interested the toaster remotely. It waited for Holly to finish.
Hang on a minute. I have got another question.
Shoot.
Said Holly.
Why have you got an IQ of 12,368 when the manual said it would return and peak at 6,000?
That's a very good question.
Holly paused for a nanosecond.
There was a miscalculation. You've doubled my IQ, but you've also exponentially reduced my life expectancy.
So what's your life expectancy?
Holly summoned up the figure from his long-term data relays. It flashed on the screen.
345 years?
The toaster whistled.
Well, it's not much, but at least you're brilliant again.
You've misread it. There's a decimal point between the 3 and the 4.
3.45 years.
Holly stared at the readout.
It's not years,
He said.
it's minutes.
His eyes widened. Fear rippled across his brow.
3.45 minutes?
Well,
The toaster corrected.
it's actually 2.95 minutes now.
Excuse me.
Said Holly. And to conserve the 2.9 minutes of runtime he had left, he shut down the ship's engines, transferred all stations to emergency power, and switched himself off. There was a pause. Then Holly turned himself back on for a fraction of a second, just time enough to direct one remark towards the toaster.
You bastard.
He said, then switched himself back off again.